In today's video, we will be discussing about cognitive approach to psychotherapy. We will discuss about the goals, therapeutic relationship, how to do case formulation, and some techniques which are used under cognitive approach like labeling, distorting, reconstructing thoughts, etc. Let's move on to the video. While discussing about cognitive approach to psychotherapy, we should also know the cognitive theory of personality because it stresses on the impact of thinking on individual's personality. The cognitive approach states that thinking plays a major role in how an individual's personality is formed. And it also states that at times of stress, when individuals anticipate or perceive a situation as threatening, their thinking might be distorted. And by distortion, they mean that their thinking might not be as rational as it could be. Automatic thought, which is not under one's control, is a key concept of Beck's cognitive psychotherapy. Now, to talk about how schemas are formed, it could start from one's early childhood experiences. For example, a kid could have an experience of the mother abandoning the child in the childhood, which will lead to developmental schemas, basis of beliefs, and conditional beliefs. For example, the child might believe that everyone in his life or her life abandons them. Critical incidents are incidents which triggers the early maladaptive schema. For example, the child could have the fear of abandonment, but as an adult, it might not come out every time. But a critical incident such as the partner leaving them or a friend leaving them again could trigger the early maladaptive schema which was formed because of the mother, which will lead to the activation of the schema as an adult as well, which again leads to automatic thoughts and then affects the emotions, behaviors, as well as physiological responses of the person. Now, talking about the types of schemas, active versus inactive, where active schemas refers to everyday events and inactive schemas are triggered by special events or critical events like we mentioned earlier. Compelling versus non-compelling, schemas are those that we are learned when we were young and are reinforced by family members and the society. Now, changeable schemas are the ones that are not too difficult to change, but unchangeable would be a religious schema which is relatively unchangeable and quite compelling. The goals of cognitive psychotherapy is to remove biases or distortions in thinking so that the individual will function more effectively. Then it would be changing cognitive schemas in an important goal of cognitive therapy. It could include reinterpretation, modification, and restructuring of a thought. Cognitive therapist focuses on being specific and prioritizes goal and working collaboratively with client. So a very common goal like I want to work on my personal growth would not work in cognitive therapy. We would have to make it more specific. The clearer and the more concrete the goals, the easier it is for the therapist to select the method which the therapist would be using to help the individual to change their cognitive schemas, behaviors, as well as emotions. The current trends involves a lot of other factors. For example, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, that is the combination of mindfulness and cognitive therapy, is one of the most used forms of cognitive therapy by the contemporary therapists. Schema-focused cognitive therapy is another one, and there are many treatment manuals which are being researched and worked on for new ways and new innovative ways of using cognitive approach for therapy for different kinds on different clients for different problems. Now, to talk about the therapeutic relationship which should be maintained in the cognitive approach, it's more of a collaborative relationship between the client and the therapist. It is not very directive and it is not very client centered as well. Therapists should use their expertise about cognition, about rational thinking to help out the client, and the client should accept and give the client's ideas as well about what would be the most suitable form of technique or what would be the most effective for themselves. So it is more of a collaborative relationship where client and the therapist together works towards the goal. With that, this is the end of the video and our very brief discussion about the cognitive approach to psychotherapy.